Namaste. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across the planet, around the world. My name is Greg Prescott from in5d.com. And today we have a double header going on. So we're going to be doing this show right here on Saturn, the Cult of L. And we're going to follow this up with a separate link for my upcoming show, which is Spirit Chat, where we just come on and we talk about whatever we want to that's spiritual. So I'm just going to keep those separate from each other. I will be posting a link after the show for Spirit Chat. That's after this show. So that'll be a separate link from what we're doing right here, right now. But right now, we're going to be covering the Cult of Saturn. But first, I'm going to cover this for those that are joining in. If you haven't already, I would like you to check out in5d.net, where we have these amazing shirts. And I'm going to screen share it right now. Bam. Right. Bam. There. I have these amazing shirts that are made with this dye that I add 99.9% quartz crystal sand to. So the sand energizes the dye. And you have these shirts that have amazing energy. People are telling me, numerous people, almost everyone that sleeps in these shirts, everyone that's told me about this has said the same thing. They have amazing dreams. So yeah, that's just a testimonial of how powerful they are. And you can read testimonials right here as well. I also want to encourage you to check us out on N5D on Patreon. That's patreon.com/N5D, where you can join us. And that helps to bring you this Zoom presentation. I'm not using the free level of Zoom, obviously. And it also helps to pay for our dedicated server, which is not cheap either, for our website. So at the $1.11 level, every little bit helps. For $1.11, you'll be alerted about upcoming live Zoom chats like this. And your name will be listed on the N5D Patreon Wall of Eternal Gratitude page. And you'll also be able to comment on these videos when I upload them to Patreon. For $5.55, you get all that, plus ad-free articles and the Insiders Club private chat on Zoom, this format, on the first Wednesday of every month. And that is it's like Vegas. What comes here stays here. You know, stuff that I'm not going to say live on these kind of shows. It's going to be stuff that is between us, and whatever anyone says also stays between us. At 11:11, you get all that plus the Afterthoughts video and an exclusive mid-month energy report video, which I just did earlier today, and I'll be uploading after this show. So that should be up and going on Patreon probably, well, it's the 15th. It'll be up before midnight. So you guys can check that out. All right, so we've got a lot to cover here on Saturn, the Cult of L. Quick shout out to everyone that's joined us. Surprisingly, I didn't give much of a heads up on this one. I just pretty much said, okay, let's do it. And I do that sometimes. Sometimes there's literally zero heads up. It's like, man, I got to go on right now, you know? So thanks to everyone that is joining us on YouTube, Cosmic Wisdom, Willow, Scotty, Agatha, Up3, Shy One, Theta, Mandy, Fifth World, everyone that's there, and everyone that's here on Zoom as well. Thank you. Oh, before I go any further too, I have some upcoming shows on the Zoom platform. The first one I want to mention is on February 26th, 2020. Depends on what year you're watching this, right? But February 26th, I have one with Adrian Goff, who's a crystals expert, and we're going to be talking about crystals for the chakras. We'll It's going to be a great chat with her. She's so knowledgeable. You'll love her. And then in the first week of March, I'm bringing back Andy Monks for a third time. And we're going to be talking more about iridology, which is the study of your eyes, the irises in your eyes, and light body nutrition. So stay tuned for that as well. Okay. So let me go back to screen share here. I posted this on February 12th on my Facebook page. And this is an old ghost sign. A ghost sign is an old hand-painted advertising sign that's been preserved on a building for an extended period of time. And this was in my hometown in upstate New York in the Catskill Mountains. I currently live in Sarasota. Look at the sign, Sarasota, spelled a little differently. When I dream, most of my dreams have me back in upstate New York. Go figure, huh? So yeah, I thought, well, that's quite a synchronicity, seeing how I currently live in Sarasota, and that sign was there since the early 1900s, kind of pointing me into the direction where I'm at right now. Okay. So I started thinking, okay, well, what is it? There's got to be more to it than this, right? So if you look at the name Sarasota, let me go to this right here. I went to the history of the Sarasota brand. That flower is still in existence since 1891. Okay, so it's believed that the Sarasota name was chosen from Greek mythology. Ceres, that's how it's pronounced, Ceres, is the goddess of harvest. Oda equals sun. Of course, you can replace that O with a U, right? S-U-N. Sarasota, the sun, S-O or S-U, the sun. It could be the sun of Ceres. So who is Ceres? In mythology, Ceres is, oh, look at this, the daughter of Saturn, of all people, and Ops. Isn't that something? And she has a child who, in the equivalence of mythology, is called, I can't pronounce it, Proserpina. Anyway, her equivalent is Persephone, right? This one's a little easier to pronounce. The Greek equivalents, which all these gods and goddesses have Greek equivalents who, replace the original ones. But, of course, once again, we look at, who her parents were Zeus and Demeter. And she married Hades. So we're seeing something going on here. If you go to Saturn in mythology, that would be her father in mythology. And here's her mother, Ops. One last thing, if you look up the El, the deity in Wiki, El, the father of heaven, / Saturn, and his major son, Hadad, father of earth / Jupiter, or Jupiter. You can see where you get some of these apostle names. So they're both symbolized by the bull, and both wear bull horns on their headdresses. Well, we'll see about those bull horns and what they actually represent. But you can tell when this type of worshiping came around through what age. With the bull, obviously, Taurus, the age of Taurus. So this was a while ago. On In5D, as always, I'll leave the links below. There is an article called The Esoteric Meaning of Christmas and the Winter Solstice. Originally, Christmas was called Saturnalia, before it was known as Christmas. It was a holiday. And as always, all holidays that the Christians celebrate fall on pagan holidays and ritual days, every one of them. So it's no coincidence that Christmas would also be included on this. So before Christmas, there was this celebration by the pagans called Saturnalia, which was a week long of lawlessness from December 17th through December 25th that honored Saturn and included human sacrifice, intoxication, naked caroling, and rape. During these 7 days, there were no punishments for breaking any laws according to Roman law. Now, this sounds a lot like, what these people are doing, the elite that are perhaps involved in child trafficking and human sacrifice. In the year 4 AD, Christianity adopted Saturnalia with the hopes that they could convert the pagans into Christianity by promising that they could still celebrate Saturnalia as Christians. Imagine how that would work out today. Because Saturnalia did not follow Christian principles, the Christian leaders designated the last day of Saturnalia as the birth of Jesus. And as many of us know that, Jesus wasn't actually born on December 25th. Even most priests will tell you the same thing, that according to the story, it would not make sense. Chances are he was most likely, according to the story, born probably in like April, somewhere in there, April, May. So moving on. In 1466, the Roman Catholic Church under Pope Paul II forced Jews to run through the city naked as a tribute to Saturnalia. What a loving pope that was, right? According to the author David I. Kritzer, The Popes Against the Jews, before they were to run, the Jews were richly fed so as to make the race more difficult for them and at the same time more amusing for the spectators. They ran amid Rome's taunting shrieks. They ran amid Rome's taunting shrieks and peals of laughter, while the Holy Father stood up upon a richly ornamented balcony and laughed heartily. It is important to note that in astrotheology, Saturn is Satan. The rings we give during a wedding ritual represent the rings of Saturn. The word Saturday originates from the Old English word that means Saturn Day. And here we are on Saturn Day talking about this. To this day, many people continue to unknowingly celebrate Saturnalia through their participation in debauchery and gluttony. And from this article, the last thing I want to show you in this is how Saturn is depicted in churches. So here we have, you can see Saturn right there, and that's on the ceiling of St. Andrew's Church on Waterloo Street in East Sussex. So yeah, you can see there's a painting showing the sun surrounded by stars, a comet, a crescent moon, and Saturn. Keep in mind that in astrotheology, Saturn is Satan. So why would they have Satan in the church? And here's one from the Cologne Cathedral in Innenstadt, Cologne, Germany. Forgive me if I'm butchering the names or these cities. But it clearly shows that here's Saturn once again on a stained glass window. So we can see all this symbolism going on and how the church basically took over Christianity as well. the celebration of Saturnalia, they knew of the importance and tried to co-opt the energy from that particular time of year. There's an article on In5D about all of these deities that preceded Jesus, and they all have the same story. I think the article is called like "Fool Me 9 Times, Shame on Me," something along that line. I'll post a link below. But all these deities that preceded Jesus were all born to a virgin mother on December 25th, had 12 disciples, died on a cross, resurrected after 3 days. Same story over and 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 over again. How many times are we going to believe the same story? What are the odds that this same deity will keep coming back and coming back and coming back time and time and time and time again, even though they said that most bishops, preachers, and people, clergy members, will tell you that Jesus was not born on December 25th. Yet we still celebrate that as his birthday, and we buy the story that, yeah, he came back. I believe it this time. No, I personally don't. And if you do, that's good for you. That's not, I don't buy that. My parents do. I love them no less for that. Okay. And if you love and celebrate Jesus, I love you no less for that either. It's just, I'm not going to buy that story again. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is Saturn itself. Why are we worshiping the cult of El? And I want to show you this picture, and you'll have a better idea of what I'm talking about as I continue on with it. So, for example, look at all of the advertising companies and how they're using either what we see as a cube or the rings of Saturn. So chevron, you can envision, the other two lines going this way. You can clearly see the edge of the corner of the cube. Front cube, Microsoft, Nintendo. And we'll talk a little bit more about Pan, but these were the horns that they were talking about, the alleged bull horns, okay? Saturn also being Kronos, father time. And you can even see the cube right here. Actually, there's a second one underneath it as well. We'll talk a little about the real meaning of this, which is not New World Order, but it's something similar. So here we see below the rings of Saturn being used on Capital One. You can clearly see it here for Nike, Saturn, the car, Bud Light. So the Saturn cult is ingrained into nearly every aspect of our life, yet the true significance of Saturn can be found within secret societies and in the deepest underpinnings of religion. Did you ever wonder, is it possible that the reality we experience has been hijacked by creator gods who keep us living in subservience, control, and conformity? Well, yeah, because that would be the church. If you look at every church, that's what they're principally based upon: subservience, control, and conformity. That's the same template as every government. How's that working across the world? There's rioting and chaos going on everywhere. Why do we look forward to the weekend when we are weakened by the weekend? Why does the word Saturday mean Saturn's day? Why was it chosen? Why do we exchange rings when we get married? Why is there so much Saturn symbolism in religion and in the corporate world? Saturn is named after the Roman god Saturnus. It's not a coincidence that Saturn is called the Lord of the Rings. If Lord equals God, then is it possible that during a wedding ceremony, we are giving our energy to Saturn through the exchange of rings? Is it a coincidence that most people get married on a Saturn day? It's also more costly to marry on Saturday. So we also give away the energy of money to the Saturn's cult on Sunday. The plural term Elohim appears over 2,500 times in the Old Testament, but is falsely translated in most versions. The fact of plurality explains why in Genesis, God said, "Let us make man in our own image, after our own likeness." As stated, Elohim refers to both gods and goddesses in its singular form, El, E-L, served as a prefix or a suffix to name of gods, people, and places such as Emmanuel, Gabriel, Bethel. Even Satan was one of the Elohim. Semitic civilizations referred to the god Saturn as El, who is the supreme deity represented by a black cube. So there we have the cube representation from many of these major corporations that use it. And this is from Jordan Maxwell. That is why today, when you get married before God. And the symbol of that God is the ring that we put on each other's fingers, the ring of Saturn. In the marriage phrases, one also begins to see what that has to do with Saturn. And that was from Jordan Maxwell in a book called Matrix of Power, Secrets of the World Control. So in astrotheology, Saturn is Satan, the cult of El. So who are we really giving our energy to? Michael Tessarian said that the ancient name of Saturn was El, E-L. Saturn was known as El before it was known as Saturn. It's the reason why those that were chosen by El, Saturn, God, were called elites. In fact, the word elect, elder, elevated, Elohim, tempel, circle, gospel, apostle, disciple, evangelistics, etc., all derive from the cult of El. Angels are messengers of God, but God was El, which is why we have the names of the archangels bearing the El suffix: Raphael, Michael, Uriel, Gabriel, etc. That's from Michael Tessarian, Astrotheology and Sidereal Mythology. Each day of the week has its own meaning and significance. For example, the most obvious day is Sunday, the day many people worship the sun, S-U-N/S-O-N, of God. But what about Saturday? Why is Saturday associated with Saturn worship? The Romans named Saturday Dies Saturni, Diessaturni, Saturn's day, no later than the 2nd century for the planet Saturn, which controlled the first hour of that day, according to the Tius Valens. For Jews, Messianics, and Seventh-day Adventists, the 7th day of the week, known as Shabbat or Sabbath, stretches from sundown Friday to sundown Sunday and is the day of rest. Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches distinguish between Saturday, Sabbath, and the Lord's Day, Sunday. So I'm going to do a screen share on this, and it's going to show you what we were taught and what is really going on here. So they're trying to tell us that because a lot of this occurred during the age of Taurus, that these horns have more to do with the bull, which I'm finding that story to be full of, than anything else. So the half man, half goat pagan god Pan has been associated with Saturn, while Saturn rules Capricorn. Capricorn is represented by a goat-fish hybrid. So there's Pan. Now, can you think of another horned deity who is associated with Saturn? Remember, if in astrotheology, if Saturn is Satan, So I don't know if those look like bull horns either. They look more like ram horns or, Baphomet kind of thing, right? So Pan was a composite creature, the upper part, with the exception of his horns, being human, and the lower part in the form of a goat. The pipes of Pan signify the natural harmony of the spheres, and the god himself is a symbol of Saturn because this planet is enthroned in Capricorn, whose emblem is a goat. And that's from Manly P. Hall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. So Saturn's also known as Kronos, aka Father Time. Kronos in Greek mythology was the leader and the youngest of the first generations of Titans, the divine descendants of Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. He overthrew his father and ruled during the mythological Golden Age until he was overthrown by his own son, Zeus, and imprisoned in Tartarus. So Saturn was the ruler during the mythological Golden Age, aka Kronos, Father Time. So as Father Time keeps us locked into linear sequential time, it seems we never have enough time to get everything done. But this is only a myth in the physical existence because as divine souls, our lives are eternal. Now, on the back of a $1 bill, you'll find the phrase Annuit Coeptis Novo Ordo Seclorum, which means agreed to undertakings, a new order of the ages. While many believe this means new world order, it actually means a new order of the ages. So let's do a screenshot of that. And yeah, of course, I'm talking about the US dollar. And here it is, Novo Ordo Seclorum. And it's funny because of these ages, we're actually running to the end of this age. And as I think, in my opinion, and I did a show on this last week, the age of Aquarius is already upon us. So what we're seeing, that age has already ended. And what we're heading toward is, well, we're already in the beginning stages of the age of Aquarius, but we're also running away from money, the need of money. Money is a control system, and us being economic slaves to a failed currency of fiat that's worth nothing, based on nothing. So it's also interesting too that Pluto is in Capricorn, and Capricorn's association with Jupiter, or Saturn rather. So it's all tying in together. Pluto exits Capricorn in 2023. So we still have a few more years of Pluto being in Capricorn. Pluto is the destroyer. So everything that Capricorn represents, it's tearing down, which is this subservience, control, and conformity that we were talking about that represents every church and every government. The Great Seal of the United States was first designed in 1782 and has been printed on the back of the US dollar since 1935. You'll also find this phrase on the coat of arms of the Yale School of Management and Yale University, as Yale University's business school. The phrase Novo Ordo Seclorum is taken from the fourth Eclogue of Virgil, which contains a passage that reads, I'm going to have to show you this. And you'll see it, but you'll see clearly how the Saturn ties into it. It's something in Greek. The great order of the ages is born afresh. I am reddit at Virgo, reduent Saturnia regna. So you'll find it all throughout that eclogue. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that. But isn't it interesting how that all ties into money? On the back of the United States $1 bill, you also find the words "In God," L, right? L, God, we trust. When people flip a coin, they will ask heads or tails. If Pan is the god of Saturn, then could this be rephrased as the head of man or the tail of a goat? It'd be kind of funny if they said that during like a football game. Head or goat's tail? You call. So if you look at the etymology of the word Kabbalah, Kaba equals cube, Allah. Allah means God. So you get the cube of God, which we saw earlier. If Saturn is the cult of El, if the Kabbalah is the cube of God, if Saturn is the Lord of the Rings, if there is a hexagonal cube on the North Pole of Saturn, if Pan is the god of Saturn, if Saturn is Satan in astrotheology, then who are we giving our energy to? We unknowingly see and use symbols of Saturn in our everyday lives, which I showed you all those different ones, the Capital One, Bud Light, Nike, Microsoft, so on and so forth. Even our educational system is part of the Saturn indoctrination. The following is an excerpt from the Atlantean Conspiracy. First, you pay your tuition, as in intuition, get it? Tuition. First, you pay your tuition to get into the university, where they strip you of your intuition and give you an indoctrination. Then you receive your masters, M-A, stars, master's degree, Masonic degree, while wearing a Masonic mortar board cap and Cult of Saturn black robe to become an illuminated alumni. Graduation means to increment or retard progress. As Jordan Maxwell says, the true meaning of graduation is gradual indoctrination. The syllables for master are ma for measure, stir for star, the measurement of the stars, namely for an astrologer. That's the etymology, if you want to go back as far as you can. Children are still given a star today for successful applications to their studies. When we matriculate from a university, we are given a master's degree. The truth about the Saturn cult has been hidden for millennia. Now is the time for our great awakening, when this material is coming to light. We've all been tricked. Our educational system will never teach us the true meaning of Saturn, because our culture has been hijacked in order for us to unknowingly give away our collective energy to Saturn. By understanding the Saturn cult, you will recognize how it affects you on a daily basis, and will give you the opportunity to reclaim that energy as your own. Now, the last thing I'm going to cover is the origin of days and months. So the word month comes from the word moon. So our months should be from new moon to new moon, which is the way our creator God designed it. And each month has a specific meaning behind it. Of course, it's not in harmony with nature, because there would be 13 months, because there's 13 moons. So there'd be 13 months every year if this were to be in harmony with nature. And each month has a specific name. And some have been named after goddesses, like here's June, named after the goddess Juno. July from Julius Caesar. But here's where it gets screwed up, right? In September, from the Latin word septem, meaning seven, which was the seventh month of the calendar. So why is it the ninth month now? Does it make sense? Just like October, from the Latin word octo, meaning eight, why is this the 10th month? November, from the Latin word novum, meaning nine. Why is this the 11th? 9/11. Get that? So why is that the 11th month? And December, meaning decum, from the Latin word decem, decum, meaning 10. Why is that the 12th month? Okay, can you guys hear me? You're saying no audio. An answer, please. Okay, thank you. All right, so this is interesting too, the 7-day week. Why is it a 7-day week? The Babylonians, you're going to find this interesting too. The Babylonians marked time with lunar months. They prescribed some activities during several days of the month, particularly the first day of the month, the first visible crescent moon of the month. The 7th would be the waxing half moon, the 14th, the full moon, the 19th, dedicated to unoffended goddess. So I'm actually born on the 19th. So I wonder which goddess I offended. It's probably Ceres. 21st, the waning half moon. 28th, the last visible crescent. The 29th, the invisible moon. And the 30th, possibly the invisible moon as well. So the naming of the days, each one has its own. We all know Sundays, the sun's day. Monday is the moon's day. So we have Sunday and Moon Day. Yeah, a lot of us, I never thought about this until maybe 10, 15 years ago, where the names of the months and the days came from. They never taught us that in school. I don't think they wanted us thinking outside the box that much, right? So, as it turned out, I'm like, wow, this all makes sense. They did teach us about the Sunday being, you learn that in church, but they don't want you knowing anything more other than that. So yeah, Monday, Moon Day, named after the day of the moon. Tuesday is Tuesday. Ancient Greek Hemera Eros, day of Aries, Tuia, is the English Germanic god of war and the sky. So it wouldn't surprise me that a lot of wars would be started on either Tuesday or Wednesday, or no, actually Tuesday, just Tuesday. Ares, Greek god of war, Mars, is the Roman god of war. Ares is the Greek god of war. Those in power will use Tuesdays to launch wars and false flag events. They rely heavily on numerology and have access to the most knowledgeable astrologers available to mankind. So Tuesday is your day of war. You'll see wars started on Tuesday. Wednesday is Woden's day. Woden is the chief Anglo-Saxon Teutonic god. Woden is the leader of the wild hunt. Woden is from Wad, violently insane. So we have a day of insanity, apparently. He's the messenger of the other gods. Hermes is the Greek god of commerce, invention. Oh, so yes. Okay, so yes, he's also Hermes. You can see the wings on his hat, his helmet. Thursday is Thor's day, the day of Thor, Norse god of thunder. Friday is Freya's day, Freya, who's also linked to Aphrodite. And here we are on Saturn's day. Kronos, Saturn, is the Roman and Italic god of agriculture and the consort of Ops, the husband of Ops. He is believed to have ruled the earth during an age of happiness and virtue, the Golden Age. Kronos is the Greek god Titan, who ruled the universe until dethroned by his son Zeus. So there you have it. Here we are on Saturn Day. You know, it's the day that before you go to church on Sunday, you know, you have this day to rest. A lot of people often live it up on Saturday. They go out and they drink their libations and get inebriated on this day of Saturn, when Saturn is loving every microsecond of it. You know, because it's part of the distraction that takes us away from who we truly are and why we're here. So ultimately, you need to remember that this is all collapsing. Everything that Saturn represents through Pluto and Capricorn is being torn down. We're moving beyond it all. And when this event happens, this flash that comes in, it tears down all constructs that we've been locked into, including time, which is controlled by Saturn, including the matrix. So there's no need to put unnecessary attention into any of that. But it also is important to understand what it is behind it and look at it from the observer's standpoint, which is what we're doing today. So I'm just going to briefly open up the chat rooms here on Zoom real quickly. And you guys are unmuted if you want to join in. If there's anything you'd like to say, we're going to be opening up the chat room again after this is over. We're going to be doing a spirit chat. So, you know, if you want to just talk about that, that's cool too. Okay. So that will pretty much wrap it up then for this episode. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to create a new link for the spirit chat. We're going to have a spirit chat coming up within the next probably 15 minutes by 7 p.m. Eastern. Here, we'll start it up. So in 15 minutes, I'll be starting a spirit chat. You can find the link to that on Patreon and or Twitter. I once again want to just remind you quickly to check out in5d.net for really cool tie-dye shirts with amazing positive energy. Help support this channel by purchasing a shirt and or going to patreon.com/in5d and supporting us through one of those levels as well. So hope you enjoyed this episode of Saturn, the Cult of El, knowing that we are moving beyond it and there are much, much, much brighter days ahead. So I look forward to seeing you all in 15 minutes. Again, check out those links on my personal Twitter page. That's at Greg Prescott #1. And remember to put 2 G's at the end of my first name, GREGGPRESCOTT #1. You'll find me on Twitter and or on Patreon. I'll be putting the link on Patreon first. So I'll see you in 15 minutes. Until the next time, if I don't see you until then or afterwards, I'm sending you all infinite love and light. Namaste, everyone.